Hi! I feel like I've been doing that a lot recently with my video intros. Anyways, I recently watched Katie is Reading and her 24-hour readathon, and I'm going to do something very similar to that. Now listen, I understand why the 24 hours straight or 12 hours each day is incredibly popular, but we're going to be very honest with each other. I have something called insomnia, and that's not me trying to be quirky and be like, oh my gosh, I was trouble going to bed because I'm such a night owl. No, I literally take prescribed medication to go to bed at night. And so I'd prefer to not just, stop taking medication for, entertainment. So I'm going to do what Katie's reading did, where she kind of reads more than you normally would during the day, but you're timing it, and basically either over 3 days or a couple days just trying to get to the 24-hour marker. And we're gonna be very honest with each other, I'm not the busiest person, but I have a hard time staying on one thing for over 2 hours without getting up and needing to do something else. So we're gonna hope that if I put my little ADHD mind to it, and also if I have background noise like my TV, that hopefully my brain will be able to let me sit and and do a bunch of reading. Now, if that's not the case and I need to get up and do stuff, because this is going to be filmed during weekdays, and so I do have some stuff that I need to get done, but I might try to listen to an audiobook that I've had since last March of last year. It's very bad. It's the second book in the Live Traderships trilogy by Robin Hobb, and it's the second trilogy that you need to read in the, I forget what the world name is, but I really liked the first series, which I'm now forgetting. Assassin's Apprentice. I don't think it's called that, the whole series, but I absolutely adored it, and there are characters in that you have to read a good chunk of these books, 4 more trilogies before you can get to what is the sequels to their world. But these also provide a lot of information in the world and also have things that are references to other books, which is really cool. I don't know why I haven't been picking this audiobook up. I like the world, I like the characters. It's the second book. Okay, so I finished the first one. I finished the audiobook of the first book, and for some reason have not been picking up the second one, even though I absolutely should, because it's sitting in Audible right now. So we might do that. I also got 2 loans out from my library, which means that yes, I will be reading on my Kindle, which I know is not as satisfying of a shot as sitting there and reading a book, seeing the pages progress by, but I got the little sequel novella to Sorcery of Thorns, which is The Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson, and I have been wanting to read this for a really long time. I loved Sorcery of Thorns. It's just a fun fantasy with romance. I would say it's more fantasy forward than romance, and so I'm very excited to read that. That's also very short because it's a novella, obviously. And the second book that I got is the 6th book in the Veronica Speedwell series, which is Unexpected Peril, I believe. An Unexpected Peril. I don't know. Listen, I've been reading these books so quickly, and it's been a month since I read the last one. So yeah, but these books are very fun and short, so I also feel like they're fast-paced and they're mystery, so they are something that I feel like is going to keep me going, and I'm not just going to get bored of it really quickly. And I also adore the characters, so hopefully that'll keep me going. Now, I do have physical books on my TBR, and did I break my own rule of buying books even though I have unread ones on my shelves? Yes, I did. Okay, and so we might get to those, but what came today and is still in its packaging is the Last Hour trilogy by Cassandra Clare. This is comprised of Chain of Gold, book 1, Chain of Iron, which is book 2, Chain of Thorns, which is book 3. This is following the children of our main characters in the Infernal Devices, which is still... Listen, I've only ever read 2 of the Shadowhunter, like, trilogies, which was Infernal Devices and Dark Artifices. I'm not going to read Mortal Instruments because I basically know everything that happened in those books, and also there's some questionable stuff in that. But I love the Infernal Devices. This is following their children, and I will say, please read Infernal Devices. It's so good. It has such beautiful characters and writing, and then it's also, the love triangle is done well in it. The romance is so good. It's so beautiful. So I've heard like absolutely positive things about this, except for the last book, which is the longest one. This is almost 800 pages, and people said that this series wasn't ended well, which makes me question why I'm even starting it. But this is on my 25 for 25. All of the physical books that I have are on my 25 for 25. Mystery of Thorn and Manors is on my 25 for 25. I also will say I am, especially depending on the book, but I am on the slower side for reading. So like an hour, I can usually get 40 to 50 pages down. So we're going to be very honest with each other. We're going to hold hands when I say this. I might not finish more than like 3 books in this. I might not even finish 3 books depending on what I pick up. Okay, so if you're expecting that, please don't. But I am probably going to go insane by the end of this, and so that's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, hopefully I can get to 24 hours within like a couple of days. I swear, if this goes on longer than this week, I'm gonna start screaming at somebody. But anyways, let's get to reading. Hello. Alright, so I have finished my first book. It was 185-ish pages, and it took me 3-ish hours to read. Listen, I think I made the joke at the beginning of this that I was like, I'm gonna be going insane by the end of this. I'm now realizing how true that actually is. But I will say I have had the timer on even though I've been getting up to go to the bathroom and like, I don't know, pausing because I have my TV on because I have a weird brain and sometimes it needs extra stimuli for me to do things like this, and so I've just been having Markiplier videos on in the background. I think it's taken like 5 Markiplier videos for me to finish this book. If the timer wasn't enough, you needed another representation of that. So we read Mysteries of Thorn Manor. I think last time I said at Thorn Manor. That's not what it is. By Margaret Rogerson, which I ended up giving 4 stars. Now, I typically do rate books like right after I read them, and sometimes I do go back and I'm like, oh, I don't really like that rating, but I will say I tend not to change them. So this is probably gonna stay at 4 stars, but I really do love this world and her writing, which is very funny because I recently talked about how much I did not like Enchantment of Ravens by her. But this is, like I said, a little novella to Sorcery of Thorns, and it's a sequel novella. And to go back into this world after everything that had happened and kind of seeing where our characters are and like what is happening with them now, and there's still being some mystery to it as well, just because of how interesting and expansive this world is with its magic and everything going on within it is very fun and interesting. This is following obviously our characters in Sorcery of Thorn, like a little bit. It's not too far after. I think it maybe is like a couple months after the first book, and they basically wake up and the outside of the house is covered in like vines and a ton of stuff, making it so that they can't get outside, and so they kind of have to go on this mystery to figure out why is Thorn Manor covered in stuff and not letting them outside. And it's also very fun to see the new character within this as well, and just the banter, even though they already have kind of a established romance, to see the banter within it with them and them kind of cracking jokes with each other. And then also just like the way that they care for each other, and it's very much found family feeling, and it's so cute, and I just adore it so much. So this is absolutely fun. If you've read Sorcery of Thorns, I would highly recommend reading this, especially if you're like craving that world again. But yeah, this was really fun, and I really enjoyed it, which is good, because I was worried that I was just going to sit here and suffer for a while. Now, the next book, I'm deciding between the first book in the Last Hours trilogy or An Unexpected Peril, and I think I'll probably go with An Unexpected Peril, because that is a library book, and I only have like 12 more days on that left. But I do worry, because of my time already, how long it's going to take me to finish it, because this book is close to 400 pages, An Unexpected Peril. So I might not give you another update. I might give you one halfway through, actually. That's a lie, but before I finish this book, it might be like a good 6 hours. Actually, maybe even more than that. So I don't know. We're going to have to see. I also might have stuff that I'm doing while the timer is still running, like filming this. So, you know, I'm going to tell myself that it's because I'm doing a bunch of other tasks that my time is already so big. Even though I've just been going to the bathroom and taking my dog downstairs. That's basically it, but we're going to tell ourselves so that we don't feel bad. Anyways, I will talk to you with my next update. Good morning. So, I didn't end up going to the gym last night, so I ended up reading more than I thought that I would. But I'm now at 8 hours. Yes, 8 hours. That's fun. As you can tell, I'm very tired. I woke up like maybe actually like 40 minutes ago, so I'm very tired. I didn't realize that until I started talking. But I am now 146-ish pages into An Unexpected Peril, which for reading like almost 5 more hours is kind of sad. But I will say that I was talking to one of my friends over Discord, and like we're both sitting there like watching stuff I was reading, but we were talking and stuff, so I'm gonna blame my very slow progress on her and not my lollygagging self at all. You have to say for yourself. What do you have to say? No, I definitely wasn't getting up to go get an ice cream sandwich and then slowly eating that while also having a hard time reading because my brain can't do 2 things at once for some reason. Uh, but I guess I should tell you what An Unexpected Peril is about. Hello, Fairbear. Yeah. You slow crawling. Sorry. Anyways, An Unexpected Peril is the 6th book in the Veronica Speedwell series, which is following our two main characters, Veronica and Stoker. Now, they in the past have solved mysteries, but they're not, like, mystery, like, murder mystery. They don't have, like, a company where they solve all these things. In fact, it's, like, told to them multiple times, hey, don't do that. Don't go solving these murders. But they tend to be correct and right in their observations and tend to see things that the police and stuff miss, which is very helpful for them. But with this book, since it's the 6, I can't exactly tell you too much of everything that's happening, but I can tell you what the mystery of this one is, and that is this mountain climber who went to this very small country that, like, basically was like, come climb here for the rest of your life, like, you know, we'll give you this house and everything, like, come here, you're a part of our club now, we want tourism, so you'll be, like, a part of that because people will see that you're here because you're world renowned. And it's also important, she's female, the mountain climber, and she died from a frayed rope, which we aren't sure if it's frayed anymore. And so now they're setting up an exhibit, Veronica and Stoker, at the Curiosity Club, which is like this feminist club, but it's full of really talented women at multiple different subjects. And so they're setting up an exhibition to honor our mountaineer's life because she was a part of this club. In fact, Veronica had met her before, which is why she cares so much about this case, and I'm guessing also other reasons as well that we will later on learn, even Stoker's like. But we are setting up this exhibition, and her personal belongings are getting shipped to the exhibition so that they can display it, and they discover this rope, and Stoker goes, oh, this looks like it was cut, not frayed, and, like, explains all of this, and then Veronica's like, she got murdered, and Stoker's like, no, and then walks in the princess of that country, and basically they like are ruling out that this is a murder because they don't want the bad publicity, since it helps their economy to have tourists there that come and climb their mountains because they're a very small country. And so they're basically like, nah, no, that rope was frayed, definitely wasn't cut straight through or anything, and there definitely wasn't a mustachioed man that climbed up before her or anything. But it is very interesting. I will say it is taking a while to kind of get into it, at least from my, like, reading point of view, because Stoker and her are, like, battling over whether or not this is an actual case. But because, of course, they keep getting closer to it, either by want or just because they keep getting pulled into it. So it is fun because there's still banter there, but it's very unusual to see Stoker be this, like, adamant about something. But I'm guessing because he brought up that this might be more to Veronica, so there might be something that he's seeing about this case that we don't quite know yet, or that Veronica hasn't realized yet. So that's gonna be interesting to learn about. I am only, like, almost halfway through. I'm like 30 pages away from being halfway through this, and I could tell you this is probably not my favorite book out of the series. Now, it is still fun, and I do think that their tension is carrying on really well, but I will say, not my favorite murder mystery, just because I do kind of like the higher stake ones, which, yes, I know is, like, a lot more stressful, but I kind of love seeing their ingenuity when they take on these cases that are very extreme and they have to, like, fight their way out or just trick people. into giving them information or get their way out. And so that's always like the fun version of that. But I do know that is a lot more stressful, and also those books tend to be shorter because of how chaotic they are. Now, I'm very tired, so I don't know how much I'm going to read today. Now, I'm giving myself a whole week to do this, so I'm going to be very honest. I might just start doing a horrible thing, which is convince myself that it's okay to read only for like a couple hours today, and then put the burden onto the rest of the week me, which is like not nice. Don't do that. But then again, I'm very tired. All I want to do is sit and watch YouTube, so like I might let myself do that. But we're going to see how much I read today. I read 8 hours yesterday, which gave me a headache, and I have no doubt that it will again today. So we're going to try our best to not give ourselves a headache and to read as much as we can within our time frame, and hopefully finish this book within our time frame, even though it took me like over an hour to read 40 pages of this book, which is kind of sad. We're gonna tell ourselves that it's fine. Anyways, I will talk to you when I have another update. It is like, okay, it is 4 in the afternoon. I feel drunk. Like, I have a headache. I took medication for it. Has done nothing. But we are now almost at the 14-hour mark. So we're over halfway through. And listen, I didn't check in at the halfway timer because the last time I checked in with you was basically at the halfway of this book. And I had like barely any left of it. So I was like, I might as well just like finish it and come to you at like an odd number. I ended up finishing An Unexpected Peril by Deanna Raybourn, and I gave that 3.75. Boy, oh boy, I will say I do love in these books because they're, I just realized I stopped my Let's get back to An Unexpected Peril. This book, like I said, we're following the mountain climber and trying to solve her mystery of what happened to her because we believe that her climbing rope was cut. And let me tell you, I did kind of suspect the person who was in this, but I will say the great thing about these books is that it kind of throws so many different curveballs because they don't just stick to one theory the entire time like certain mystery books do, you know, or the thing where like they find more evidence and they suddenly cut to this thing. They keep their suspicions about everybody, which I appreciate because that's actually what I believe detectives do. I don't obviously, of course, they're like, oh, this person's more interesting or more guilty looking than all these other people, but they do also have their own preferences, which is really funny to watch them bicker about that. And I also do want to say, if you've read up to book 6, you kind of know where their relationship is, and I was very worried that I was going to not love it as much, but Deanna Raybourn loves having like relationship complexities that aren't, you're not sitting there banging your head and being like, why are they still together? This is so toxic. She has it to where you are sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, like I hope they resolve this, because it's not a nothing argument, but it's definitely, you sit there and you go, but I want them to be together, because it's not toxic, and they're just sometimes have a hard time expressing their feelings because they're well written characters and feel like human beings, which is beautiful. This mystery, not my favorite out of all of them. I do love the fact that we bring in, like, foreign rulers now, and also the ending of this, while sad and, like, I do not absolutely love, I do think that it is a very nice way to wrap up. I also think she does a very good job with Stoker and Veronica to give them kind of relationship tension between each other that ends up getting resolved at the end of the book. So we have like a B plot as well to this, and it's kind of being explored along with the mystery, and so it has so many aspects to it that are so good and mesh so well together. And I don't think I will tire of this world. Now, am I going to go read the 7th book? Probably not, because it's also probably not going to be available for my library, which also, I think this is like the quickest I've ever read 2 library books. This book was 344 pages, and it took me, 11 hours? Oh no, it took me 11 hours to read that. I have 10 more hours, or close to 10 more hours, and 10 hours and like 20 minutes currently left, which I will be picking up something that is basically in the same realm of my first 2 books, which is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is the first book in the Last Hours trilogy. Okay, it's very funny to me because I realized all of my books are basically set within the same time period, like the 1800s. And I didn't realize that until I was like towards the end of An Unexpected Peril, because Thorn Manor, now, it doesn't necessarily isn't like, oh yeah, this is in the 1800s because it's in a fantastical world, but it does kind of mention that it is within that time frame, and also the settings and like clothing and descriptions that it gives. And then Veronica Speedboat, very apparent that it's set in the Victorian era, which, if you don't know, is within the 1800s. And this, I think, is set during that? Oh, it might be. Okay, love cuts deeper than any blade. Cordelia, I never know how to pronounce this last name. Castars is a shadow hunter, a warrior trained since childhood to battle demons. When her father is accused of a terrible crime, she travels to London in hopes of preventing her family's ruin. There, Cordelia's childhood friend James and Lucy... my brain's not working. Herondale draw her into the world of glittering ballrooms and supernatural salons, and while Cordelia must hide her secret love for James, who is sworn to marry someone else. But Cordelia's new life is blown apart when demons attacks devastate London. Now trapped in a quarantine city, Cordelia's friends discover that their connection to a dark legacy has gifted them incredible powers and enforced a brutal choice that will reveal the cruel prince of being a hero. Oh, the cruel price of being my brain is soup. It is soup at this point. I didn't realize this had an infection story in it. That's like one of my favorite things. And that's not even a joke. I love that stuff so much. Actually, I'm probably going to love this so much. So, we know about the family that Cordelia comes from, but I don't know how to pronounce names. Okay, it's not my strong suit. But the other 2, James and Lucy, I believe are the children of Will, and I've completely forgotten her name, but it was one of my favorite romances within that book. I read that when I was like 13. And so their story, it's been a minute, but I do really love Shadowhunter World, and I also... her, like, forbidden romances, because she's written a couple of them, are pretty good, okay? She knows how to write them, alright? And so I'm going to trust her with this. Now, this is over 500 pages, and did it take me 11 hours to read a 300-something page book? We're not going to talk about. So, I'm probably not going to finish this within this time frame, but... well, that depends on the writing. Still, listen, don't have hope that I'm going to finish this, but hopefully I will make a decent chunk of the way through this. And this is on my 25 for 25 also, and I am very excited to get into this series because I've heard so much praise for this, except for the last book, which is kind of upsetting because that's what makes a good trilogy, is the last book also being good. But anyways, yeah. Let's get to reading this. My brain is mush. Oh, wait, what? No. What? Wait, what? No.
green.
So it's the next day, but as you probably saw within the last clip, my timer reset, and I'm guessing that's because I probably accidentally elbowed it or something, but I have made it 32 pages into this, which is like chapter days past. I think this is going between multiple times just to kind of give like perspective as to what is happening right now on it. Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so scatterbrained. My timer, I left it on like basically all night. So it's now at 14 hours. It's back, okay? So we have that. So don't worry, hopefully you'll be able to see a 24-hour timer, unless I'm stupid and hit it again and reset it by accident. But like I was saying, I read 32 pages of this, and so far we kind of have hints of like what's happening to Cordelia's father and like her parents and stuff. And it's also I love I love Cassandra Clare so much because these characters are teenagers, right? And I think I have a problem with majority of teenage characters because authors don't actually know how to write them. Like, they either write them like they're in their 30s or they write them like they're 2 years old. I feel like Cassandra Clare does a really good job of giving them enough maturity, but also like keeping the essence is the wrong word, but like keeping the kind of environment, or like, I can't think of the right word for it, but makes them feel still like they're teenagers, that they're not fully grown yet. And so I do really love that. I also will say her characters tend to be really strong, even though I'm only 32 pages into this, but it is very nice to see Will and Tessa, which, yes, I just remembered. It's also very interesting because if you know Tess and kind of what she is within the Shadowhunter universe, it is very interesting to see what is happening now to her children because of that. And I'm overall, so far, I'm liking this, especially because James was talking about like, oh, there's this girl who I'm interested in, and like we've basically told each other that we're gonna get married and all of this stuff, even if our parents don't approve. But it doesn't sound like he's actually in love with her, which is very weird to me. But his sister overheard that because she was hiding underneath the table, and he was like, oh, like she's coming to London and stuff. And then his there's no way I would be able to pronounce it, but basically the person that he is bonded to, Matthew, was like, I don't really know if I approve of her. And guess who just came to London because her father is in jail for possibly breaking the accord. I forget the Clare Accord is something stupid. I'm over here being like, that's so good, and then I'm like, that's so stupid. But that's a whole other thing where there's a whole storyline with that. But my favorite thing is the fact that Lucy is literally like, oh yeah, well, I overheard him talking about like some girl coming to London, and you might not like him right now, but you'll get used to him. Like, she's their number one shipper already. Like, and her and Cordelia are like best friends even before this, and Cordelia has a crush on James and has for a very long time, but it also would benefit her family and help them stay in higher standings and not be like, I don't know, what's shunned, I guess is the right thing, because of their father's situation. So her mother kind of wants her to marry into a prestigious family like the Herondales. So, you know, I'm guessing that's going to come up where, like, maybe James learns about that or something. But so far, this is very fun. I love the characters already. I love the fact that there's so many different families of Shadowhunters within this, and they're already, like, half of them have been mentioned. And I also want to say that I find it really cute that they named their son James after Jem, which his actual name is James, and I just find that really cute, especially sentimental after you've read the Infernal Devices within that. But I'm ready for stuff to hit the fan, okay? I've seen people cry over these books, and I'm not prepared for it, but I do really like this so far. I don't know, for some reason I don't typically like YAs, but Cassandra Clare just does something to where I like them. I guess it's just because has a really good world and characters. So, anyways. Yeah, I need to read for 10 more hours. And like I said, don't expect me to finish this within those 10 hours, because this is over 500 pages. This is a quite thick series, at least page-wise. Some of the books are it's funny though, because The Dark Artifices is longer than this series, I believe it is. But I read those, like, really quickly, so we're gonna hope that this sucks me in. But I will hopefully either check in with you halfway through, or maybe tomorrow when I have, you know, hopefully read some more of this and update you on that. But so far, very fun. I love repeating myself 50 times. Anyways. I have now reached the 19-hour mark, which I meant to reach the 20. And did I do that over 2 days? Yes, I did. I only videoed the first one because I felt like this is getting kind of repetitive. I meant to read to 20 hours, but I ended up having a late dinner last night, and that kind of screwed me up because I was going to read in bed, and then I had like a headache and so I was just like, just tomorrow maybe we'll deal with it. So I have 5 hours left, which is good because that means I'm almost done, and it's taken me a whole week, so that's really fun. But updates that I am on chapter 11, page 266 in this. Slay. But I now have more of the plot that I know. One of our main characters, because he is the son of Tess, who is, I don't know if that's a spoiler, but basically he has some unique abilities, and so he is able to go into like this shadow realm, and within that he can see like shadows of demons and stuff, because basically in the Shadowhunter world these demons come from alternate universes, I guess, but will kind of fades into shadow when he goes into it, and he doesn't want to be in there because of that. And so he sees Barbara, I forget her last name, but getting like tackled down by this demon or getting pulled down to it, and then she ends up passing out, and then they're at this picnic and it's full daylight, and these demons come and attack them when demons aren't supposed to be able to survive in daylight. And so now we're just kind of hinting towards like, oh, something's wrong, something's happening. These demons are motivated when normally they're very scatterbrained. They didn't hurt any mundanes. They didn't, they're not acting like they typically are. So it's kind of like, what is happening? Who's behind all of this? And I also want to say, so you have Cordelia, who is interested in James, but James basically grew up with Grace Blackthorn next door and is like in love with her and has promised himself to her. The Blackthorns are very sketchy, okay? Their whole thing is so weird. There's a bracelet involved, they kissed and something happened where like he was nauseated because of it. Like, there's so much sketchy stuff happening with her and with their family. I'm just like sitting here and I'm like, oh, are y'all gonna be behind this? So what's gonna be happening? But so far we've kind of only really done setup. We haven't necessarily gotten into like they're fighting and there's the quarantine and all of this stuff, but they have yet to figure out what is happening, and also why the demons are acting the way that they are, and why there's so many of them after they thought that there was like basically none left. So this so far has been really fun. I also just think that she has really good and unique characters. Like, all of them have such different components to them, even though they're all shadow hunters and going through relatively the same thing. She just knows how to write a unique character, and it's very good. So, anyways, I have 5 hours left, and I'm probably going to spend it just reading this, if we're honest. So, there's a ton of aspects to this. We have ghosts, we have warlocks, we have fairies, we have demons, we have shadow hunters, we have I don't even know, some romances and all of the fun stuff within this. I doubt I'm gonna finish this, but hopefully I'll make a good amount of progress through it. That's all that we can hope for. So hi. It's been, 5 hours? Oh, I can report I have lost my mind. I officially have, but I have now completed the 24 hours. But I now have a headache, and light is searing into my brain, but I got to, these don't have chapter numbers, but it's Days Past London. Something square, I don't know how to pronounce that, but it is 430. I have like 150-ish pages left of this book. Now, I could have just lied and been like, hey, I finished this book as well. But no, my brain is mush. Oh my gosh, my brain is mush. I'm not gonna do that. But I also will say, I am gonna give you excuses, because I was lollygagging at the beginning of this, and a couple of times, so This video is probably also exceedingly long because I did a bunch of updates when there was really nothing happening. But I will have to say, not my favorite challenge, but I will say I don't think I would have read as much of this or any book if not for this challenge. I've lately been, I don't know if it's necessarily a book slump or just more of the fact that I'm tired and stressed with life things, that I just have not been in the mood to pick up any book really. And I've also been having a very weird thing where I'll pick up a book, read 100 pages, DNF it, pick up another book, read 100 pages, DNF it, unless it's a physical book, but then that'll take me like over 2 weeks to read, which for me, especially at the beginning of this year, not the average that I typically have. My average like amount of days for reading a book has gone down a bunch. Now I am reading somewhat thicker books now, but I don't think that helps either, because I did read some fantasy at the beginning of the year and still read it within like 3 to 4 days. But anyways, this challenge I think did definitely encourage me to read, and like I don't like things where I'm forced to read, but I do think sometimes it is good for me because I have a very hard time sticking to a routine, and so I think having a allotted amount of time that I like have to read for this video definitely made it so I was like, okay, I have to actually get this done. Like, if there's actual pressure behind it, I get it done, but if it's just like something I want to do, I don't do it. Now, you might be questioning how I got this done. I don't know. My brain's just weird. But anyways, I need to start rambling and going off on side tangents. Anyways, so I have read 2 and more than 3/4 of this book. I'm going to say that this right now is like a 3.75 on this, and did I give the last 2 books 4 stars? My brain is mush, but I have been reading like books that are set within the same time period. I don't think this is Victorian. I forget exactly when that era ended, but we are in the 1900s, and if I'm remembering right, I think it either ended at the end of the 1800s or early 1900s, but it might not be. But I like reading books set in historical times just because I'm a history nerd and I like that kind of stuff, but also because it adds different aspects to the romances and the like whole thing of like, you could ruin them if you don't do this, and you know, you have to sneak around to do this, and it's always just very fun. I enjoyed all the books that I've read, which is actually very shocking because I haven't been having the best reading month or two. I started the year out really good, and then for some reason it's dipped off, but it is very interesting the way that Cassandra Clare writes the tension in romances and stuff, because you're like, oh my gosh, that happened, how's she gonna keep the tension going? And then you're like, oh, so you just want to torture me with these romances. But I absolutely adored the romances in Infernal Devices, and even in Dark Artifices, it was still good as well, although I don't really care about that book series as much. I'm very excited to finish this book and finish the rest of this series. This is on my 25 for 25. I probably have mentioned that so many times in this because I'm reading 2 books off of it. But I adore her work and just the way that she's able to write characters and the worlds that she comes up with. The way that she has this like format, and yet she is able to still create interest and also new kind of abilities within that, and the kind of logic, especially with the learning of new technology in the time period that they're in, and the experiments of these other shadow hunters and stuff. It's very intriguing, which you would think for how many books there are about shadow hunters it would just lose interest, but she just somehow does it with each series and each character. She somehow makes it so that it doesn't feel like the romances are being repeated, doesn't feel like it's just rehashing old stuff. She knows how to create like villains and demons and new things that are causing issues that are actually interesting and aren't just feeling like it's a cash grab that she's writing these books for. And it's so good. It's so good. But yeah, I'm very excited to have a new series, even though have probably 50 under my belt right now, which isn't good. But yes, thank you for suffering through this video. I know it's not the typical reading 24-hour readathon videos that you see, but like I said, I prefer not to just, stop taking my medication, and I already have a headache. Imagine what it would be like if I read for 24 hours straight. I think I would go blind from the amount of from the amount of pain that I would get from a headache. Also, yes, I did have YouTube on. Does that probably contribute to the fact that I don't have as much, pages as I wanted to, or finish books as quickly as I probably should have? Yes. Did I also talk to my friends while I was reading these? Yes, I did. Okay, but listen, if I didn't, I would have gone insane. And I don't think me and you want that for my mental well-being. At least I don't want that. I know that might be entertaining, but for me, I don't care about that. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this, and I don't know if I'll ever do one of these again, so, but maybe you should like and subscribe to see if I ever do one again. Probably not. And comment if you read any of these books, what you think about them. If you had a good day. I don't know, honestly. Just trying to engagement farm at this point. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Bye.